What's up, everybody? This is Jesse and Justin, Exile State Comics, and we are here today to talk about one of the biggest things that's happened this week, this weekend, this month, nay, this year, and that is Avengers Infinity War. We both happened to see it, and we want to tell you what we thought of it. So here's how it's going to go. We're going to talk about some of the lead up to the movie, the MCU to this point. We're going to do a spoiler-free discussion. Our thoughts, our initial reactions. We'll do a star rating out of 10. And then once we do that, we're going to give you guys a little bit of a buffer because we're going to get into some spoiler conversation. And we'll let you know when we get there. So don't worry. Before we get there won't be any spoilers. Okay. So I guess we'll just kick it off. When did you see it?
Saw it Friday night.
Friday night. Nice. I saw it Saturday morning. Nice. 10 a.m. viewing. It was pretty good. So I guess
I will ask, how packed was 10 a.m.?
It wasn't. Well, actually, it's hard to say because the place I go to is one of the dine-in theaters, so you get the really wide seats.
Yeah,
the leather like lazy boy type seats. So even when the theater is packed, I have it's like first class. You still got your elbow room. Yeah, exactly. The people next to me came in about I would say 20 minutes late.
Oof.
So they were like, this movie didn't. It was like, what's the length on it? 2 hours and 36 minutes. So they came in right after the 2 hour mark, and they're like, this movie was supposed to be 2.5 hours long. That wasn't 2.5 hours, but that's because you came in late. You forgot that,
right?
So
I was counting the previews. And
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Friday night for me though was packed.
It was packed.
It was completely and utterly packed, and it was in the largest screen at that theater that I went to. So
right, and
I think they were running it in 5 or 6 other screening rooms. So
oh wow,
yeah, it was pretty nuts.
Yeah, pretty insane. I know that some of the folks in the chat with us, Lunchbox Comic said he saw it Friday night. Gomez the Comic Collector saw it Thursday night. So pretty much everybody saw it this week, and that's no surprise. That leads right into what I want to tell you next. And it's an estimate. We'll get the hard number. Typically that comes out Monday afternoon as to how it did from Thursday, the early showings,
right,
to Sunday. That's
the
your
weekend take.
Exactly. But as it sits right now, right around or just over actually $250 million. So that's right around where it is. And I know you're thinking about your estimate. We did those box office predictions. It may be a little bit lower than you thought, but let me tell you this. The best movie up to this point was The Force Awakens of all time.
Yep.
And that was 247.9 million. So this takes the number one spot.
Amazing.
By a few million. And again, we'll get the hard number, and Thursday on the live show we'll tell you what that official number was. Worldwide, it's sitting at $630 million. Yeah.
Over $500 million in the first weekend.
About 3.5 days. So that's a lot of money. It's broken records. It's done the largest single Saturday gross of all time, largest single Sunday gross, largest April opening, the largest spring opening, and it's been the fastest film ever to get to $150 million and $250 million.
Also, it was the largest or most pre-sale tickets ever.
Yes, that's right. There was I think it was Black Panther was the one before that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then this just kind of smashed it.
Yeah,
came along and said, "Hold my beer." One of the things that helps with it, PG-13, right? That gives it a huge
broad audience.
Broad audience, exactly. So pretty insane. But this movie, it's the buildup and the hype of 10 years of the MCU. We watched these people in all these films ever since what was it, Iron Man #1, right? Not Iron Man, I guess, not #1. Right. I think in terms of books,
right?
But, that was 2008. Yeah, 10 years we've known these people. It's been building up to this point, and we kind of you kind of feel like you had some friends there up on the screen. These people for a decade.
Oh yeah,
so
definitely have an emotional connection to everybody.
Yeah,
been through the roller coaster with them as they've got to this point.
Yeah, exactly.
Jackio says he's going to go see it tonight.
Oh, sweet. You're gonna come out of there a changed man, Jackie. Let me tell you.
Change your life.
That's right. But like even like I don't know, like Spider-Man, he's been in this is his third movie technically, right?
Mm-hmm.
Fairly new, but at the same time, we still have always known who Spider-Man is. So
Right.
you still have that connection, even though it's somebody that's come in fairly new in terms of like the cast of characters for the Avengers or just the MCU as a whole. We still know we still have that long-term connection for him,
Yeah.
So
they were asking in the chat about the budget for the movie. Do you remember what that was? I don't know what it was exactly because they did film parts of 4 as they were doing 3 and then went back and finished 4. So I don't know how that actually
I think
broke down.
Yeah, I think there was 350 million for like the production budget, and then I think it was right around another 150 million for Princeton advertising, which is the marketing campaign for it.
So they're already in profit.
Well, you have to do about a 3.5 times multiplier because the studios take the cut, the distributors take the cut. There's tons of people that take their cut before the studio ever gets to see the money. So you need to let's say triple whatever the budget was. So it did
by
let's
middle
say
of the week, it'll be $1 billion.
Once it hits $1 billion, it's going to start being considered profit, which is kind of crazy to think, but that's kind of how that works because of all those people who take the cut ahead of time. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I think it was right around the 350 million range in terms of the budget, and that includes 450. So no, wait, I don't know the exact numbers. It's somewhere in that range.
A lot of money.
Exactly.
Because you got all these people that maybe they weren't necessarily stars 10 years ago, but now they are. Now they all need big paychecks.
That's right. They sure do. They're money makers now. That's like the thing in Hollywood is superhero movies, right? But right now there's been 19 MCU movies. This is the 19th, right? And all together. So Disney bought Marvel for $4 billion. If you include this weekend's take, which what we said was the 630 worldwide, you're right at $15.5 billion that they made on this franchise up to this point.
Yep. Seems like a pretty solid investment.
Feel like they pretty much made the money back, right? But it's a crazy cash cow still, so it's not stopping anytime soon, right? So what have you felt like, in terms of the build up for this movie, like the anticipation and like what were you kind of like expecting or I don't know, thinking about based on what you've seen in the previous 18 films actually?
Yeah, right. Now, I mean, I was excited for the actual payoff that we were finally going to get. We were finally going to interact with Thanos, and it was, so I was completely on board, as I guess most of us were, and just really excited to see how far they were going to take it, how close they could get to what we've already been reading, since the 80s of this saga, especially right. and really, really cool seeing all the characters together. That was something that was going to be neat. Getting the extra villains with the Black Order and things just to see how that type of stuff was going to be done. Getting a little bit snippets in the trailer and things like that. So just overall, very excited for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. And like up to this point, we've had these connected but still separate areas, right, of the MCU. Like you had your Guardians, you had your Avengers, you had your whatever else. The solo movies, Doctor Strange did his thing, Black Panther did their thing, and it's been like, man, I these are cool, but I can't wait to see them like have this moment where they cross over,
Oh yeah.
And that's not a spoiler because in the trailer you do see these people in Wakanda. So I just want to put that out there. That's not a spoiler. So yeah, it's been the hype. The hype for it has been real. So
hype is was the hype was real on this one. The hype delivered. The hype delivered.
That's right. Sure did. So let's talk about and again, broad strokes here, general, the plot for it. Is there anything that you can say in terms of the plot that doesn't give it away, but yet says how you feel on it?
I mean,
it's hard to say. Right? I mean, you can say it's a very complex plot. It's very intense, right?
It is, but as an overall, like, we know what the plot is. Like, we've understood going into this, like, what the end goal was. So the path at which they go to get there is different than what we, it's different than what we're able to base it off of, just based on what we've read in the past. So, enough, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know. That's all I want to say without spoilers.
Okay, yeah, and like I said, we'll give you plenty, like a buffer. We'll let you know when we get into the spoiler talk, and there's a lot more we can say in terms of that. It was 2.5 hours long, but it felt like a really quick 2.5 hours long because there's so many characters and so much that they have to like tie up for it. It's like, and we know all these people already, so you don't have to worry about the origins for the most part, things like that. So you just action, and it goes right from the beginning right to the end, just like nonstop, which is great. It's fun to see that, but like I said, it's quick, but at the same time, it's almost exhausting.
Oh yeah,
no, 2.5 hours, there's boom, 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 there's stuff happening nonstop. I mean,
the theater was packed, so that probably contributed to it being hot in there. But yeah, I was like 3/4 of the way through the movie, I realized I was like sweating. I was like, geez, man, this is intense. So.
Yeah, there was a couple times, let me tell you this, I had my hand on my leg just resting it there. Well, I thought I was, and then I came out of the movie just to like look around the theater, and I realized I was like clenching my leg, not clenching.
Got a good grip.
Yeah, no, just because of like the what do you call it? The anxiety. I was having anxiety from it. So there's a couple things, in terms of the previous MCU films where people have said that they've been sort of formulaic, or say the villain has been a bit two-dimensional or underwhelming.
No.
I think, or the other complaint that I've heard in terms of Marvel movies before.
Oh, okay, before.
Before. Is that they have been a bit too comedic for the gravity of the situation, i.e. Thor Ragnarok, which is very funny, but when you're looking at the destruction of your home world, I mean, you're probably not going to be cracking jokes all the time, right? So there was that bit of a complaint there. But I think with this movie, they really found their groove in their balance of that, right? It definitely still had the joke element, the comedic element, which I think a movie with such gravity needs, as like a stress reliever in the middle of it. Yeah. But it was more subtle, I guess you could say, some of it. So there was definitely had that, but it was more balanced towards the weight of what these characters were going through.
Right.
Does that make sense?
No, yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah. And then the other piece about the villain, the way I saw him was very layered, very three-dimensional.
He was an onion.
Exactly. You can just peel back more and more, and we'll talk about that when we get to the spoiler section. But, I don't know what to say that I can't give away something, but I really feel like some of the best villains are the layered and nuanced villains, and the people that truly believe what they're doing is the right thing. But looking to their situation, you're like, that is just evil and messed up, right?
Yeah.
And that's
nobody sees themselves as the bad guy.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And that's what I liked about Killmonger. He really felt like what he was doing was the right thing. Yeah. He had his story. He had his arc, and he wasn't just the villain just to be the villain, right? He wasn't like a MacGuffin type of villain, Yeah. So I think Marvel was really coming to their own and hearing what those opportunities were in the past and really just knocking them out of the park. And this is really their cap on the whole thing, you know. And they did it nicely.
Yeah.
They
did, but it's not even. It's just part of the cap.
Yeah. Right.
You know?
Yeah.
But well done.
So it was supposed to be Infinity War Part 1 and then Infinity War Part 2. And then they came out and said, well, we're not going to tell you what it's called, but it's no longer Infinity War Part 2. So this was supposed to be its own movie, and then something coming out of it, of course, as they all do, but not like directly kind of like a follow-up for it. Right? Does that make sense what I'm saying? So do you feel like this movie had its true beginning, middle, and end? I mean, obviously they can lead out of it, but do you feel like this movie was its own movie for the most part? Or do you feel like it really had a hard cutoff and it's just not
no, it's hard to even picture it as a standalone film because you know it's not. You know, so that it's hard for me to even answer that question properly because it's not a standalone film. Could it be if it wasn't a story? If like going into this movie blind, yes it would. They open it up well. There is a journey and then there is a conclusion to that journey. So yes, it does stand alone.
Right.
If you're going into it blind, if you're not, you know it's not. So
okay. Yeah, I agree with you on that. So good. What did you think about the CGI? Not only for Thanos, but for, well, pretty much everything. The planets, you know, the Black Order. There's a lot of mocap here. A lot of CGI.
No, there wasn't any CGI that I thought was, wow, like this looks horrible or anything else. I mean, I think Marvel's really, you know, in the groove of, you know, they've been doing this for so long that it's kind of second nature for them. Hopefully they're not, you know, going to get lazy or anything, but no, as a whole, the new characters that we saw looked great. The battle scenes, you know, we got fights going on in different places. That all looked good. Even when there were large numbers of things happening at the same time, nothing looked like super distorted or anything just weird. You know what I'm saying? It all looked really solid.
Right. I agree with that. I like how they did Thanos' face, the mocap for it. Really, the way they had his character, it had weight to it. It really felt like he was actually in the scene, you know? And there was a lot of detail there, too. So you could really see him emoting and those facial expressions and stuff, you know, that I'm sure Brolin had that they were able to kind of, you know,
capture,
recreate. Exactly.
Right.
So there was tons and tons of detail in it, which is fantastic. I was happy to see that.
But spoiler, the Fantastic Four are not in the film. They're not there, guys. I'm just going to go ahead and ruin your expectations right there. Yeah. There's no Fantastic Four.
Unfortunately. There should be, though. There should be. All right. So anything, how about we talk about some opportunities? Because let's face it, no film, as perfect as we want to say it is, no film is perfect. There's always going to be something. And you know what? It's not going to be like what one person likes. Maybe something that sets somebody else off. Like I think it was Gene Polly's Peter were just saying that Ethan Van Sciver did a review, and apparently he didn't like the movie, which is very rare, right? I do my reviews as well. I have yet to give a movie a 10, which means if it's not a 10, that means there's something there that could be tweaked or some sort of opportunity. What do you think on that? Anything that you can think of?
Things that I didn't like could be improved upon.
It doesn't have to be like outright hated it, but just something that like you wish that they had done more of or less of, or you know what I mean? Some sort of.
I wanted more. I wanted more.
Yeah.
So I guess that's actually a good job that they did. But no, I wanted specific scenes I wished were stretched out longer so we could get some more questions answered before we move on to the next film. but they didn't really leave any lingering questions. You know what I'm saying? It would just be like
Right.
questions you had from earlier films, perhaps.
Right.
I'm trying to think of what else. If I mean, there really wasn't a whole lot that I didn't enjoy. Maybe a
Hmm.
second viewing, I could pick some other things out or anything like that, but nothing
Yeah.
directly hits me off. What about yourself?
Okay. Well, there's a couple things, and let me know what you think of this. But
Mm-hmm.
the movie had damn near everybody that's been in the MCU up until this point, right? So and they did it very well. It was very well orchestrated in terms of the plot and the cutscenes and giving most people their screen time. But there were some characters that I really feel like Black Widow. She only said a couple things. I'm really curious about um, Hulk, Banner, and kind of his arc.
Mm-hmm.
I know it was Mark Ruffalo who said that Thor Ragnarok, Avengers 3, and Avengers 4 are kind of like a story arc for the Hulk through
Yeah.
those. Like you could take that story out and make it its own movie, and they can't because the rights are with Universal. So what they did was like develop this 3 movie arc for the Hulk. But I feel like he didn't, have as much time for himself. Um, Same with Groot. I wish I had gotten to do something more with Groot. We'll talk about things that did or didn't happen when we get to the spoiler section. But I wanted to hear a little bit more about him. And we talked about Thanos being like a really well developed, layered character, in terms of the big bad.
Mm-hmm.
But the Black Order was kind of like, what? Who were they? Why were they there? You know what I mean? And then same with the Outriders, which were the four-armed
Right.
bug people.
Right.
Like, why them? Like, where do they come from? I know they're genetically engineered because I've read the story. But they were kind of just there to be there. So there was that. And then I feel like I'm coming into this obviously like just like you are as a big, Marvel fan. We know the stuff. But if you're the casual viewer, if you're the person who doesn't read the books or the backstories, I think because it is so complicated, it might be a bit confusing for somebody like that.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
in terms of the MCU as a whole, because of all that interconnectivity, it's almost to the point where, and again, if you're a casual watcher or casual reader, it is almost getting to that point where all of that connectivity and backstory might start becoming a hindrance versus like the benefit, because there's so much that you'd have to know in terms of what's already happened or who knows who or who loves who or who died when or who this and that. So again, it's not quite to that point yet, but I think that they're very cognizant of that. And that's why it's like, okay, Avengers 4, that's the end of this. We're going to start changing things up from there. So does that make sense?
No,
I'm
no,
kind of
no.
looking at it from like
Totally.
the casual person's perspective. And
Yeah,
just,
I would like to see. I'm sure somebody will come up with a definitive list of the movies you need to watch in order to get ready for this one. That's not 18,
yeah,
but that would be really cool.
yeah, for sure. I've heard comparisons for this movie in terms of franchises, that this movie is this franchise's Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, yeah.
So now there was a couple of scenes in that where with Han, we all like our Solo, which is coming up pretty soon.
Saw the preview.
Yeah, woohoo. But he was like cracking jokes with Leia and stuff, and it really cut into some of the tension and some of the sadness. But some of the things I feel like that happened with this movie, it was very, very bleak and very somber. And I know a lot of people have said it, like the movie ends and you're just in silence. People just don't know what to do with themselves because like what happens is just so intense, but it's so like abrupt and so, and you're already exhausted from the movie, and then you're some things happen and it's, and then boom. So I don't know. I kind of like, I came out of it like excited for it and I loved it. I'm telling you, I loved it. Just so don't get me wrong by these things. But I was just kind of like in a somber mood when I came out of it, versus like super stoked. I love it, and I want to see what happens. Obviously, I'm dying to hear what happens in terms of what's next.
Yes.
But those are my things that I would have maybe added or taken away or tweaked. So,
man, yeah, okay.
yeah, I'm
Anybody?
trying to look at it from like a logical kind of perspective in terms of taking my emotion and my thing out of it and just looking at it in terms of like hitting the numbers, in terms of movie structure and things like that. So
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Like I walking out of it.
yeah.
I mean, you're gonna feel that way. Like
Yeah.
it hits the movie hits you. You know what I'm saying? So they did a good job with that. They hit you where they wanted to, or at least us comic fans. You know what I'm saying? I haven't heard anybody. I watched a couple reviews on it today just to see what people were saying about it, but I haven't heard anybody that kind of missed the ending there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
As I left, though, I tried to go push emotion out and go toward the, okay, well, how are they gonna do this, and how are trying to figure out what's to come.
Right. And there are some movies that have already been announced, not just Avengers 4, but some of the characters already have movies that we know are going to happen. So that doesn't take away from what happens, because you still don't know how those people are going to end up in their movies, or even the next movie,
Right.
what's going to happen. So,
right.
Yeah. So anything, and this is the spoiler part. Non-spoiler part. So it's really hard to kind of dive into some of what we're saying. And it probably sounds vague to people, but we're just purposely being vague because there's so much tied into it to where it could be construed or misconstrued as a spoiler. So we're trying to avoid that for this segment. That being said, what else do you want to throw into this part of it?
I don't know. I guess King of the Golden State needs to check his kitchen. Here's the microwave.
Oh. So someone broke into his house to make a hot pocket.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else to say. Non-spoilery.
Yeah, exactly.
If you were anywhere near excited for this film or curious about this film, go watch it. That would pretty much be it. You will enjoy it. And I will spoil this. The end credit scene, you got to sit through all the credits. It is after all the credits.
Yep.
Don't get up. Don't think there's not one. Oh, it's coming, but you just keep sitting there.
It's there. And we can say that there is one.
Only one.
Sometimes there's two, but this movie, there's one.
Just an N, not a mid.
That's right. Yeah. All right. So we'll do our rating out of 10, our star rating, and then we will get into some of the spoiler talk. Okay?
Okay.
Sound good? So out of 10, what do you rate this movie?
Oh, man.
Wait. Before you get into that. No, actually, no, just do that. Because I was going to say, how do you remember we were talking about ranking the movies? Yeah. So whatever order you want to do that in. Doesn't matter.
All right, man. This is, it was super, super solid. This is rough. Out of 10.
Yeah.
Like I want to go as high as possible without being ridiculous. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'll go. Huh?
I was going to say some of the chat's answers to that while you're thinking.
9.4 white pages?
Yeah.
Okay. So once we get in between 9 and 10, can we do the CGC grading?
Yeah, go ahead. You can do yellow labels, you can do qualified, you can do blue labels. Yeah.
I will give it a 9.6.
9.6? Okay.
9.6. We'll go with the yellow label on that.
Yeah.
Give it a little plus, so 9.6 plus.
There you go.
I will say, okay, so the only one, now that I think about it, disappointing thing was still no Beta Ray Bill. Still just waiting for Beta Ray Bill to show up. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
More than just a sculpture on a tower, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah.
And yourself, sir.
All right. Well, I'll tell you in a second. We'll do some of the people. So Tex the Collector says 11. Amazing Murphinator 1028, 9.4 white pages. Funkoff gives it an 8. Comic Book Brother gives it a 9.6. Gomez gave it 9.5. And then Jay Rodham says 9.9. Yellow Label Signature Series. So there you go. And I gave it a 9.6. And just so you know, I'm not throwing that out. I already had it written down right there.
Nice.
So there you go. All right. We both gave it a 9.6, so we concur on that. So very cool. Where does this fall? Oh, King of the Golden State is a 9.8. Where does this fall in terms of your, let's say, top? Is it in your top 3 for the MCU?
Yes.
It is. Okay.
Yeah.
So where in there, and what is it kicking out?
If I could...
That's a tough question, right?
It is a really tough question. Because then you're like, well, what's in there? What's above it? I don't know. Civil War is probably still my favorite for whatever. I mean, that was a really, really good movie. I really enjoyed that one.
That's top 1.
Right. What would be kicked out? Maybe Guardians 1.
Okay.
But Ragnarok's still in there.
Okay. So for me, it's Winter Soldier, still number 1. I'm gonna put Infinity War here, and then oh god, that's tough. The first Avengers is there. It was Black Panther, so this moving up to second pushes Black Panther to 4th. So that's mine.
Man, Winter Soldier was a good one too. That is such a great movie.
It is. I like that genre there. That's why I'm really looking forward to like the Black Widow movie, because I think it's gonna be like a political, like spy thriller type of thing. Yeah. So that's right up my alley. So yeah. All right. So we've done our ratings, we've done our rankings. 9.6 out of 10, guys. We're gonna give you a couple seconds here because we are gonna get into now some spoiler talk about the film. Some of the highlights for us for that. Some of the key plot points that happened. And then if you guys want to stick around and contribute to that as well, or later, if you are watching this, just refrain from comments for a couple weeks in terms of, even though we're talking spoilers, leave a non-spoiler comment. I don't think, so King of the Golden State says Black Widow came out already. It's called Red Sparrow. I don't think Disney is going to kind of go that route with Black Widow, the hyper sexualized route. I don't see Disney going that far out.
It'll be a PG-13.
Yeah.
Black Widow movie.
But I see what he's saying there, strong lead. You had like the Atomic Blonde, Red Sparrow. There's been a few other ones that have come out over the years. I mean, Ghost in the Shell even's in there.
Well, I mean, just a little bit of tweaking in any of those books could be made or any of those stories could be made into a Black Widow film. So.
Yeah. I liked
very true.
Eon Flux. Remember that movie?
Oh yeah. I remember the animated series.
Yeah. That's like a super futuristic Black Widow, like Black Widow in the year 5000.
Right.
So, all right. So we are doing spoilers now. If you are still here, spoilers. And in fact, I'm going to change my thing here. Spoilers. See if it works. Spoilers. There we go.
Here we go.
And then
trying to watch the number to see if people drop off. Nope, we're still gaining. What's going on?
Yeah, you're supposed. Yeah, all right. I guess it's funny. People love spoilers, even if they say they don't want to hear spoilers. People still read spoilers.
Though it seems like most everybody in the chat anyway has been able to see it so far.
We were talking about the numbers. 250 million over 630 million worldwide. So you're going to be like looking for people like in the Serengeti or something like that, Siberia, where there's no movie theater.
Right.
But if there's a movie theater within 100 square miles of you, you've probably seen it. So I don't know. You want to get into some of your favorite plot points for it? some of the I'm pretty sure you're gonna be mentioning some of the Thor stuff, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, of course, I liked that was the journey for Thor to get a new weapon was awesome. Seeing, I mean, just how that was. I mean, we're in spoiler talk, right?
Yep.
He had to go. He had to go.
Spoilers.
He had to go make Stormbreaker. Everybody. He needed the new hammer, which of course he didn't know that was what it was going to be. He was just going to the forge to get one made, and I thought it was really cool. Like just that. How he had to do it and what he had to go through and survive for the hammer to be made,
Mm-hmm.
So
he had to take the full power of a sun,
a neutron star.
Yeah, that's it's pretty wild. And what'd you think of
about a minute?
Yeah, what'd you think of Eitri?
Oh yeah, that was awesome. That was awesome. Like I didn't expect. It was what's his name?
Peter Dinklage.
Yeah, like that was really cool for him to be like the giant,
Right.
In that regard, that was really really cool. I thought that
people
was
were joking, saying it's his biggest role so far.
Right, and yeah.
So, and then talking about Thor, he got his eye back, so that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, Rocket was really nice to him. He did not. We don't ask where Rocket kept it, apparently. But yeah, so that made sense. There was no point. I guess we could go a little. Well, one more disappointment. I guess this is why it's 9.6 and it didn't get higher for me.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like,
yeah, it's stuff that comes
movie, up. But when you think of it, it's like
the Odin Force was never addressed or used, and it should be Thor's at this point. So
yeah,
King Thor versus Thanos would have been a much better fight.
Next in line, right?
Yeah,
for the throne.
Hell is gone. He's it. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, he should have the full Odin Force. Maybe he just doesn't realize it, doesn't know how to tap into. I don't know, but or maybe that's not even a thing in the MCU. I don't know, but
yeah,
that's about it.
I liked in that whole scene when they needed to put the pieces together. So then Groot was like, "Hey, let me be the handle. Let me do this. Let me put down my games for a minute and
do something important here."
Yeah. So that whole scene, it reminded me from the 2015 Secret War series. It was a book called Thor's. Thor Core was like all of that,
Yep.
Thor.
Groot
was a Thor, and he had a hammer in one of those books, or right on the cover actually.
Oh yeah.
So it looked like that to me.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just the way they did it. And J-Rod said, Thor said rabbit. Yeah, I liked how he referred to Rocket as a rabbit all the time, and that was hilarious.
Yeah.
And Rocket's just like, what? What is that? What is he calling me?
Yeah. And then when they left the ship and Thor was like, goodbye, morons. Or like when Groot was playing the game and Star-Lord told him to stop, and he goes, I am Groot. And then everyone goes, and he's like, watch your language.
That was good. That was good. It was funny, too. Thor could understand Groot.
Yeah. He took it as an elective.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess let's start at the beginning. So, with this movie, why is it? I don't know. I don't know.
Very often.
I don't know how to answer that. Yeah. So right away we get into some scenes. I guess one of the things that was missing, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, right? I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It was just missing. It was referred to. So the first stone was it was on Xandar, the Power Stone.
Right.
We didn't get to see that part. He already had the Power Stone. So we see that part referred to. So the next part, he's going for the Tesseract, which was with the Asgardians, right? Loki has it. So we get right to that point in it. And right away, like, you realize just the gravity of what's going to happen with this movie. And, obviously Loki dies.
Yeah, they do not waste any time with that one. Right,
exactly. And then Thanos says, no resurrections this time, right? Like, this is actually happening.
Yeah.
Heimdall too. We actually guessed that one because we saw the sword with Thor, right? I think Thor had the sword. Yeah, in one of the toys. And then there was a Stormbreaker one too. We saw.
Yeah.
So
maybe he goes back and gets the sword at some point.
Yeah. Now that the forge is working.
All right.
Yeah. So the other things that were missing from this, there was no Valkyrie, right?
Right.
Presumably she died with everybody else because she was on the ship with them, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There was no Ant-Man.
No Hawkeye.
No Hawkeye / Ronin, right? We saw some of those scenes.
Would they say they went into like witness protection type stuff or something like that, just getting off the books?
Yeah, they're like off the grid. They just had an agreement to because he has a family.
To lay low.
So
right, both of them did. Yeah, that was their leverage to keep them out of the game, basically.
Right. And one of my favorite people from Black Panther, Nakia, Lupita Nyong'o, she wasn't there. I wish I had seen her. Right. I like Letitia Wright, so we got her character.
Yeah.
But my Lupita wasn't there. So we'll see what happens with them. Maybe Hawkeye was such a Ronin, like such in stealth mode. He was actually in the movie.
He was there.
We just didn't see him.
Well, that's the thing with Ant-Man too. He could have been there and we just didn't see him.
Yeah.
Who knows? We'll find out in the next one.
Yeah.
Or we might. Ant-Man and the Wasp comes out before Avengers 4, so we'll probably I'm sure it takes place before. I would think. I would think that it takes place before Avengers 3 here, but so we'll probably get an explanation of where they are, or something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Ant-Man could like fly up inside the gauntlet and then turn into Giant Man and then like break it.
Yeah.
Right. That's the way to get it off his hand. So Nebula's arc was interesting.
Yeah, Nebula. I like that they still tortured her, like in Gauntlet. She was still basically a disassembled zombie, at a certain point where she just was nothing but conscious,
Yeah, exactly. So I think that they didn't touch on much of her after that, but I think that she still has a very important part to play in the next movie.
Yes, and I like that. I hope they do something really cool with that character.
Yeah. So, we'll have to see. And they didn't show her dying or not dying, so.
No, she was there at the end with Stark.
She was okay
on Titan.
Yeah. That's right. She was, yeah. Okay, so speaking of that, let's talk about the thing that happened with Doctor Strange. And that happened, I believe that happened on Titan. So he was able to, using his power, go and look at the future.
Right.
Millions of futures, like 14 million futures he was looking at. And
possible outcomes.
You're right. He only saw one that was a success. But after that, what he did was he still, even though he knew that one outcome, he handed over the stone. He saved Stark, right? So he must know something with Stark, to still do that. Like,
right. Or
this guy is so important. The one
outcome. Yeah, the one outcome. He had the gauntlet, or he at least had the time stone.
Right. So there's something very important there that he saw. So I thought that was pretty interesting. What do you think of the Iron Spider suit? Well, actually, we'll do Iron Spider and then the what do you call it? The Bleeding Edge armor, because those are two different Stark Tech suits.
Yeah, no. Iron Spider was awesome. Like the entire theater, was super pumped for that one when it happened, and then a second time when the legs extended. So we got two big, massive chairs out of the theater for that. I thought it looked good. It's for what it was. It wasn't. They weren't changing it to the red and gold like we've seen it in the books, but I thought it looked really cool, and it was definitely functional for Spider-Man. He used it in a good way.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. They used it in like to capture people, to stop him, to help a roll. So it had a lot of practical, use there. It wasn't just there just to be there. Like it was actually used for things,
Right.
So that was pretty neat. And talking about him, I liked he did this in the other movie where he talked about Star Wars. The references. So we talked about aliens and stuff like that, So knowing those movies that we all like,
right?
It helped. It helped with the plot. Like, you blew him out the airlock. I think it was Ebony Maw, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. The Maw. So I guess the Maw's dead. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that was cool. So he wasn't really. I mean, Ebony Maw had like 2 scenes, really.
Mm-hmm.
You know, walking through the streets of New York and dying on a spaceship.
Yeah. And that was what I was kind of talking about before with the Black Order or the Children of Thanos, whatever you want to call them, kind of being 2-dimensional villains. Like, they were just there just to be evil. Like, we don't know why they were following Thanos or what happened with their planets. You know what I mean?
Right.
What their motivation was. They were just evil just to be evil, basically. So,
I agree.
And again, yeah, it's hard. If you like, I guess they had to sacrifice some things to keep it to the 2.5 hour length. Otherwise, all the stuff were like, hey, they should have done this. They could have added this. It would have been like a 3.5, 4 hour long movie without that, But the other thing that was a surprise was the Keeper of the Soul Stone.
Yes, that was a massive surprise, because I was like looking at that character and I was looking at that character and I was like, oh, we have not seen you in a long, long time.
There's
but
a throwback.
I thought we might see the Red Skull show it back up.
Yeah, I was watching the red carpet premiere for the movie, and they had like this whole like 2-block long thing set up for it, and it kind of like a walk through all of the history, and they had from like D23 where they first showed the Black Order, those really tall statues. They had those and stuff, but they had the Red Skull, that hot rod, that giant thing. Remember that from?
Yeah.
So they had that there at the red carpet. And that first got me thinking, like, I wonder if Red Skull is in the movie. Like, they put that there for a reason, but it was still a surprise, like, because you obviously didn't know what he did. That's a bug in here.
When you first see him too, it almost looks like he's flying. So you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah, he looked like a Dementor.
Yeah, he was like a wraith.
Yeah. So it was pretty cool. And then I guess that same scene, I don't remember what planet that was, but the whole.
Oh yeah, I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah, we were talking about how Thanos had story. He had layer to it. The scene. Like it's hard to say with him because they were saying like he doesn't love anybody, right? To be able to be the one, like his whole motivation was, I want to bring balance
order.
To the universe. There's overpopulation. When that happens, just like it did on his planet, which was Titan, and it happens actually. It happens here, like the deer population.
Yeah.
The government will issue permits for people to go hunt to keep the deer population down. Otherwise, there's going to be so many that they can eat up all the food, and there's going to be no food for anybody, and everybody's going to die.
Right.
So that's kind of Thanos' mindset, and that was what he was doing in when Silver Surfer was chasing him down. In one of the stories. I think it was like 37 or 30, in that range of Surfer. And he Surfer was like, so basically you want to solve the universe's environmental problems. Was what he told Thanos.
You're an extreme Captain Planet.
Yeah, exactly. But to be able to do that, like, you can't love anybody, right? I mean, because you got to kill everybody.
Yeah, you got to be able to detach.
But, they didn't explain why he loves Gamora more than Nebula.
At all.
Right, exactly. But clearly he was doing something that pained him. He loved Gamora. He saves her on her planet, but he still killed her. And it brought a tear or multiple tears to his eye.
Seemed like he cried for a minute, yeah.
Yeah. Seeing Thanos cry was an interesting scene, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was not expected.
Yeah.
Not expected at all.
Yeah.
So good job for them. That was probably one of the biggest, surprises that I saw in the film.
Yeah. And yeah, but it really helped bring some layer to his character, and
Yeah.
give him some depth and dimension.
Right.
So, one thing that is always with these movies is Stan Lee's cameo. So we
Yeah.
got a Stan Lee scene. He was driving Parker's bus.
Driving the yellow bus.
Driving a bus. Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool. That also got a big, like, massive reaction from everybody in the crowd in the
Yeah.
theater. Seeing Stan Lee made everybody happy.
Yeah, exactly. He's got a bunch of scenes like pre-filmed.
Yeah.
So
They did those a couple years ago, I think.
Yeah.
Just in case, which
Yeah.
is a good idea.
They did like a dozen or so of them.
Yeah.
Quite a few. So
I'm sure they just like had him just have him in front of a green screen doing a couple things so they can fit him in anywhere,
Mm-hmm. Yep. Throw him some generic lines, some things that could be said to anybody.
Yep.
So we obviously we both saw all of the trailers and the previews and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There was a scene, and I think I saved the image in Wakanda. Do I have it? I do not know. It took place in Wakanda. Oh, here it is. But it was not in the actual movie. I don't know if you picked up on that.
Oh, yeah.
This.
Yep.
So here's one of the scenes from the trailer. But instead of getting the Hulk, we got Banner in the Hulkbuster armor, which is pretty cool. But, it leaves some questions about exactly what's going on with the Hulk and why can't he get, the Jade Giant to come out,
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting. So they had some scenes like that where they do try to throw people off a little bit, with the trailers. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. That's a big one. That one definitely threw everybody off. But I mean, he was still there. It was just Hulkbuster Hulk.
Yeah, exactly.
Just replace him with the suit. So yeah, that, and like you said, the 3-film story arc we got going on for Banner is really cool. Especially the dynamic that they're stuck in now, where Hulk's like, directly saying, "No, I will not become the Hulk. No, don't want to be the Hulk."
Right.
Not coming out.
Yeah, I think he was kind of shaken by what happened on the ship.
Yeah.
At the beginning, like
Mm-hmm.
beat the crap out of him, and it was up to Heimdall. His last thing was to save Hulk. Yep. Shot him to Earth. So it's pretty neat. Funkoff says, "I may be lost. How was the Hulkbuster suit there?" So instead of the Hulk, there was the Hulkbuster, and it was Bruce Banner in operating or piloting the Hulkbuster armor.
Mm-hmm.
Stark was in his armor, War Machine was in his armor, and then Hulkbuster also was there, with Banner driving it. Thanos is here. He says he won.
Good job.
Yeah. You did what you wanted. You got to see your sunrise. You got to do your.
Now you get to be a farmer.
Yeah. You get to go raise some corn in Indiana or whatever you want to do.
Wherever he was.
Yeah.
Whatever planet he wound up being on at the end there.
Yeah, we don't know what planet that was.
Yeah.
But it had a nice sunrise.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Quill died. Kind of sad because Gamora died too. They had a thing going on. Let's see what happens in the next movie. Let's talk about the end credit scene.
Okay.
There was one end credit scene. Obviously we had, well, not obviously, but we had Nick Fury and Maria Hill.
The return.
For a second before they also died and disappeared.
Yeah. Snapped out
right before that happens, right before that happens, he's got his little pager there, and he dials it up, and you see Captain Marvel, her little logo on there. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
Everybody was happy about that.
Yep. So, yeah, Funkoff says Grimace is a bad man. Yeah. All the Guardians died except for Rocket. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Groot, Falcon died, Black Panther died, Drax died, Heimdall died, Loki died,
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man died. That was a pretty powerful scene, actually.
Yeah,
You know,
people. Yeah,
it was like, I don't want to die. I don't want to go. That was like, that was something there, right
that was
right
upsetting.
in Stark's arms. Yeah, yeah. Who else died? Bucky died, right?
Yeah. Steve, what's happening? Steve.
Yeah. Damn it! I
Steve.
just got my my
Yeah.
vibranium arm, and now, damn it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man died.
That would have been funny if the arm stayed because Rocket
Yeah,
wanted the arm.
that's right. Yeah,
I'm
he's
gonna
like,
get
I'm
that
gonna
arm.
get that arm. Yeah. Who else died? Vision died, obviously.
Black Panther.
Yep. Black Panther.
That was a big
Um,
one.
Scarlet Witch died.
Yep.
The Collector died. Right.
Vision got deactivated.
Yeah. It was an interesting explanation about how he could survive without the stone in,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm. So that
Yeah.
opens it up that he's not dead.
Right, exactly. They've
They can
laid
rebuild
that
him.
foundation there. So you have your Ultron and you have your Jarvis and you have other people's consciousnesses that are all layered on top of each other. So
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't necessarily need the Mind Stone to continue living. So pretty neat. And then we did get the iconic snap. So that was cool.
Yeah.
But it didn't quite. I thought it was an end like snap and then cut to white. But they got like a little bit of what they call the end credit scene after the
Right.
climax. So the denouement.
Yes, sir.
So yeah. So anything else you want to share in terms of the movie, or in terms of like the plot points, the high points, spoiler wise?
No, I mean, not really. Not that I could think of. Just like I said, it left me wanting more. I'm excited to see the next one, see where they go with it,
Mm-hmm.
see how they're going to bring characters back or what they're going to do, how they're going to be changed if and when they do come back.
Mm-hmm.
But especially if they're putting it as this story is the next one is set a little bit apart. I wonder if there's a bit of a time gap or going to be a time jump while the team tries to reassemble and figure things out before they go after Thanos again or whatever they're going to do.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. I kind of feel like some of these people that died were Skrulls.
That would be so cool.
Yeah.
That would be ridiculously cool if somehow this led into the like in Secret Invasion or something like that.
Yeah. I think the direction going forward is going to be much more cosmic.
Yeah.
Is my thinking. So Secret Invasion, maybe Annihilation. Once we can get Annihilus in there. Korvac Saga would be a good one. I really like that. Kree Skrull War, obviously part of Captain Marvel. So that's the direction that kind of headed. Pretty sure.
Oh yeah.
So pretty cool. All right, guys. So that's pretty much going to do it for this Avengers Infinity War movie review. We did a spoiler-free section. We talked about some spoilers. We both gave it a 9.6 out of 10.
Crazy.
So, yeah. So pretty cool. We're aligned with that. Thank you guys for being here with us live and using your chat to add to the show. If you're watching this later, definitely leave us a comment, but try to keep it spoiler free. We tried to control what was happening here, but in terms of the comments, definitely want to not ruin it for people because it's still fresh. A couple weeks out, then we can talk about openly some of the spoiler stuff. But that's pretty much it, guys. We will be back on Thursday.
We'll go over the box office numbers that we predicted, right?
That's right. Sure will. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. This has been Jesse, JLS Comics, and Justin, Exile State Comics.
Have a good one, everybody.
Have a good night.
Yeah.